Hey, David, can you hear me? Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
The slate is only really easy because you have
Well, so yeah, you just need to list out your slate. Yeah, there's one more. Does it open your yes.
Do I have to like mention it as I go?
Yeah, mention their names. He might be the only one that you know.
Interesting.
Okay.
So then, like those two sentences, like what I say, for president, do we vote on that?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to nominate? I don't have dinner on Friday. I haven't figured it out.
Hey, why is this not working now?
I also set up the PowerPoint that I use when we first set up our new structure. Yeah.
Hey, David. What do you see on your screen? Are you seeing Zoom, or are you just seeing the picture of everyone in the meeting?
No, I'm seeing your screen with, I don't know, with all of your documents and stuff.
Oh, okay. Thank you. How are we doing, Logan?
Hey, I'm doing well. Can you hear me all right?
I can, thank you.
Perfect.
You all have all you want. I used to run community stores and people did that all the time.
I believe I'm expected here. I'm sorry I was delayed. I hope you received my wife.
All right. That's a hot one.
Welcome to Beavercreek Rotary. I am your host and president, Stephen Brown. Hope everyone enjoyed the Super Bowl. I think the NFL screwed up a little bit. The real MVPs were the refs. So they completely won it for them. Testing, perfect, thank you. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but it was terrible. But the Bengals played a great game, and Joe still has his ACL. So I want to thank our greeters, Charles Kern and Pete Landrum. Eric Marcus, our ticket master. Mike Zwick, Pete Mills, Mark Weinstein for our great programs. Jim Gundel and Alex O'Hare for the website and YouTube. And Pete Landrum, our Zoom guy. I want to invite Denny Jarvie up to do the invocation.
Good afternoon. Would you please join me in prayer? Oh, Holy Creator, bless this food for the nourishment and strength for us, for the burdens of service, which we gladly shoulder. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you very much. All right, so we do have a couple people online. David Fleming, Scott Hadley, our speaker, Logan. How you doing, Logan? And David Cusack is here in person and on Zoom. Nice makeup, sir.
So I'm trying to make sure I can track those people on Zoom, and with those in attendance on Zoom, we have 24 active, 6 rule of 85 for a 56.6%, and our sole guest is guest of our representative Brian Lampton, and she's the first time to be introduced every meeting.
Welcome, Karen. Thank you, Sergeant. Speaking of Karen, Brian. Are you ready, sir?
Oh, sure.
Sergeant at Arms, Brian Lampton. All right.
Yes, it is. It was better than normal. I certainly didn't deserve it. Okay, our weather today, it's lousy. Cloudy, high 34. Tomorrow, much the same. And then we're in Ohio, so Sunday, sunny, high 54. And then it's Monday again, so who cares? Oh, actually, a lot of you might because you have the day off. This came out of Albany, New York. The Department of Justice reports a 36-year-old woman pled guilty to mail fraud and ID theft, receiving just over $700,000 in unemployment benefits. The conviction carries a 22-year prison stay and a $250,000 fine, and because I thought $250,000, you got $700,000, that's a good deal. And she has to pay all of that $700,000 back to the state. She was very clever in hiding her new windfall. When she pulled in, she was driving a brand new Maserati and had recently purchased thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. As I had just mentioned, we know that Beavercreek schools are closed today and Monday, so the teachers have a long weekend. Secretary of State Frank LaRose announced that 16,500 new businesses were created in January of 2022, a 32% increase from December. I saw this on the internet, so it must be true. Maybe a couple of you in the room have gone to this place. It's in the Philippines. It's a private island called Banwa, or Banwa, however it's pronounced. It is the most expensive resort on the planet. It recently cut or reduced its nightly room charge from $100,000, okay, per night to $45,000. So yeah, times are tough, and COVID, this hurt that business too, right? So there are 6 oceanfront beach villas, large jacuzzis, infinity pools, spas, elevated bar loungers, access to jet skis and yachts. The whole area only holds 36 people. So maybe that's why they got to charge $45,000 a night. Now there's a catch. You can't stay one night. It's a minimum of 3. So you're out $135,000 for your visit. Yeah, brutal. Woo. Another story I saw, the US Coast Guard recently recovered 54,000, that's 3 zeros, pounds of cocaine and 16,000 pounds of marijuana, a street value of over 1 billion. The seizures occurred in the Sea of Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean. In sporting news, Beavercreek women's basketball, they fell to Sydney to end their postseason run. I think they ended up with a record of 15-9. Beavercreek faces Troy in their postseason GWAP play, and that'll be held in Centerville tomorrow at 7:15. Beavercreek men's basketball ended their season 13-9. Of course, we know football is over. The NFC champion LA Rams have bragging rights and some new jewelry after their victory against the Bengals in their home stadium. And let's see. NCAA basketball, Wright State is 15-12. They're in 4th place in the Horizon League, but they're only a couple of games out. The Raiders face Oakland tonight in Oakland at 9 p.m. And then the Flyers are 18-8. They're in 3rd place, and they're 1 game out in the A10. They are in Philly tomorrow playing St. Joe's at 1 o'clock. On this day in history in 1885, Mark Twain publishes The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. In honor of Black History Month, we have several. It was actually on this day in history in 2006. Shania Davis becomes the first Black athlete to win individual gold in Winter Olympics. In 1959, Ray Charles records What I Say, that song. I find this interesting. In 1930, this was not that long ago, the planet Pluto was discovered. It's not a planet anymore. All righty then. Okay, well, Pluto was discovered and not the character at Disney. In 1878, rancher John Tunstall was murdered and the Lincoln County War began. And obviously out of that struggle came a famous gunfighter named William Bonney, otherwise known as Billy the Kid. And on this day in 2001, Dale Earnhardt was killed on the track in a crash. Some birthdays today, famous birthdays. 1898, Enzo Ferrari was born. 1931, a writer named Toni Morrison, the first African-American to win a Nobel Prize, and she's from Lorain, Ohio. I didn't know that either. 1933, born in Tokyo, Japan, Yoko Ono. 1954, John Travolta. 1957, Vanna White. 1965, and from the Super Bowl, one of the Super Bowl performers, Dr. Dre. 1964, actor Matt Dillon. And in 1968, Molly Ringwald. All have birthdays today. And some random thoughts. I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. Consciousness, that annoying time between naps. NyQuil, the stuffy, sneezy, why the heck is the room spinning medicine? This is one of my favorite sayings, God must love stupid people, he made a lot of them. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a cash advance at the ATM machine. You know, getting lucky means, well, this is, you know you're old when. Getting lucky means finding your car in the parking garage. You are cautioned to slow down by your doctor, not by the police. And an all-nighter means not having to get up to go to the bathroom. See, us old fight, we get that. It's a true story. What is the difference between in-laws and outlaws? Outlaws are wanted. A blind man walks into a bar, a table, a chair. Sorry. Two men meet on opposite sides of the river. One shouts to the other, "Hey, I need you to help me to get to the other side." The other guy says, "You are on the other side." What's the difference between an oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer? The taste. Dave, they want you back. I do have a poem. We had Valentine's Day recently, so we have a couple of poems. The woman's poem goes like this: before I lay me down to sleep, I pray for a man who's not a creep, one who's handsome, smart, and strong, one who loves to listen long, one who thinks before he speaks, one who will call, not wait for weeks. I pray he's gainfully employed, when I spend his cash, won't be annoyed, pulls out my chair, opens my door, massages my back, and begs to do more. Oh, send me a man who'll make love to my mind, knows how to answer, how big is my behind? I pray this man will love me to no end and will always be my very best friend. The man's poem. I pray for a deaf-mute nymphomaniac with large boobs, owns a bar on a golf course, loves to send me hunting and fishing. This doesn't rhyme, I don't give a crap. I did not write that, by the way. Okay, we have some fines. If you've ever been to Albany, New York, if you have a 4-day weekend starting today, you retired folks, you don't, you every day's a weekend, so hell with you. If you've ever owned your own business, that'll be $1. If you've ever been to the Philippines, that'll be $1. If you did not watch the Super Bowl, did I get anybody on that one? No? Okay. Didn't think I would. If you enjoyed the halftime show, that'll be $1. I hated it. If you own any Mark Twain writings, books, what have you. If you have not seen a John Travolta movie, that'll be $1. If you have not seen The Breakfast Club, great movie, Molly Ringwald's in it. And if you miss Dale Earnhardt, no pin and no badge will be $1. I try to get $1 out of everybody, so hopefully I got you. Mr. President, you can do the collection of happy bucks if there are any left.
Thank you very much. This is how you know you're super young in Rotary, because you're probably the only one here that actually really enjoyed the halftime show. So I thought it was amazing.
We are.
Thank you. All right, happy bucks. Who's happy? Karen.
Karen's happy. Today Brian's dad turns 80 years young.
Ah. All right. Happy birthday. Anyone else?
I have a number of happy bucks for all of our Rules 85 people who continue to participate in our club in a strong way, and to Harry Souter, who comes even if she knows she's going to be late, usually made fun of by Mr. Clement.
Thank you for joining. That'd be $1. Anyone else? Is anyone happy online? David?
I'm very happy that the temperature in Sarasota is about 78 and the sun is shining, and I'm here with my new wife, Celia. I'm very happy.
That'll be $78.
$78. Anyone else? All right, let's get to the winning ticket here. Last four is 9710. I'd like to thank Fran again for winning last week and donating over $400 to our annual Christmas basket. So thank you. You got a winner?
Yeah.
All right. Who's got the cards?
Joker's still in there. You draw 2 weeks in a row. Wait a minute, is this a new deck?
Yeah.
It should be.
Okay. Okay, so now he just pulled the queen of clubs
No,
out.
the new card is the 6 of hearts. I already had it pulled.
Okay, you lost, thank you.
All right, the pot grows. We do have a couple announcements. First announcement, next Friday, we will have a board meeting. So as always, the members are welcome to come. Second announcement is we do have a greeter sign up going around. So please sign up. And third, last but not least, Brandon, President-elect. Yeah, we can clap. It's okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Not the equipment, come on. So I'll keep it very short. So we have 5 openings, 4 of which we have filled. So there will be 1 open spot if any of y'all are up for it. But the slate I am proposing, or the committee is proposing, I'll start with the 2 director positions. As the first, the president-elect, we are recommending David Cusack to be our president. And as I was just talking to Dave, I said my philosophy, I always thought if I was ever in a position of power, I'll drain the swamp. But I've said I believe we should keep some of the swamp in Eric Marcus, and we would like to put him back up as treasurer for the job he does. And then the 3 open director positions we have Amanda Hayes and Dawn Adams, leaving 1 5th position, as I mentioned, open. So that is the slate as currently proposed. And like I said, if anybody would like to volunteer or to nominate someone else for that 5th position, we are still seeking someone. So.
Thank you very much. Do we have any nominees on the floor? All right. Well, we'll be doing this again next week. So you have a week to either come up with a nominee or between then, if you're interested in joining one of our directors' positions, let us know. One more thing, Ryla. So Ryla is coming up. When is it? When is it? March 19th. So we are looking to get hopefully at least 5 students at the high school. So I know Shannon's going to go talk to the counselors there. But if you guys have anyone that you think might want to be interested in joining that, definitely reach out to Shannon. He has the applications.
We're looking for juniors.
Juniors.
That gives them a year to use what they learned at Riley Camp through senior year.
All right. Yeah. So juniors, if you know any juniors that might be interested, great program. All right. We'll go ahead and move on with the meeting here. We have Logan Clark here on Zoom. I'm going to have Pete introduce him. Pete Landrum. Pete Bales. Do you want to come up with him?
All right, well, thank you. It does give me great pleasure to introduce Logan Clark. He is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. And given all of the crazy weather we've had in the last 2 weeks or so with snow and ice and now sun and 50 degrees, I think he'll have some cool things to say to us. Logan started his career with the National Weather Service in May of 2020. He's a recent graduate of Ohio University, obtaining his Bachelor of Science in Meteorology in 2018, and continued his education at Ohio University, earning his Master's of Science in Geography in 2020. Outside of meteorology, he enjoys music and sports, so let's turn it over to Logan.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me today. A little bit of a substitution. Brandon was originally going to present to you guys, and he reached out to me and thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to come out here and talk to you. Unfortunately, we still have some restrictions with the reintegration policy that NOAA has in store for us. So I couldn't be there in person with you all, but definitely appreciate your flexibility to have me be able to present virtually to you guys, and definitely want to talk about some of the interesting weather that we've had recently. So before I get into all this, I do have a set of slides. I don't know, do you guys have the ability to, if I share my screen, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here.
Share. So I can get have them share.
I think I have the ability to share here.
We're getting there.
Is it not giving you the option?
Yeah, you need to go to hosts.
Where's that?
Let me, let's see, share screen. Might be sharing now, might be just sharing everything. There we go. Are you guys able to see that?
Yeah, where you at? You're trying to share it.
It says it.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, it says. So you should have the ability.
So he's done. You got to close the window. You should be able to share now.
That was already an option, so I think it's a view.
You're
on our
sharing
side.
here. You got to stop sharing so he can share.
Okay, oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Looks like it's,
There it is.
There we go.
Got it.
all right, perfect. Well, thanks guys for troubleshooting that. Always some interesting technical stuff that we have to deal with now. So for those that don't know me, my name is Logan Clark. I am a meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Wilmington. So I am one of the newest hires there, just slowly coming up on the 2-year mark. So I thought I'd share a little bit with you guys about sort of my life story, how I got involved in meteorology, have some interesting stories with that, and then just want to talk a little bit about what we do at the office, and of course maybe highlight on some of the recent winter storms that we've been dealing with. So the road to becoming a meteorologist, what is that like? Well, for a while it used to be that meteorology, it was required to get and maintain like a bachelor's degree in the field of meteorology. And so with that comes, a lot of different courses in physics and math, and some of these more challenging courses where you think you would be, signed up for an engineering, like engineering degree. So it's definitely a lot of math and science heavy. And that's really because meteorology, what it is it's atmospheric physics. And so we have to kind of learn a lot of the basics of physics, basics of thermodynamics, laws of motion, and different things like that to really have a good grasp and understanding. And especially for those that take their career in meteorology and kind of move into modeling, weather modeling, all of that really is understanding different laws of physics, laws of motion, fluid dynamics, and different things of that nature. So it can take a lot to really know and understand some of that stuff. And of course, we always have to make some assumptions when we're, running these weather models. We're not able to sample and measure every single particle in the atmosphere to really have a good understanding of translating stuff from now and into the future. So it's a really tough but interesting science. And so like I said, for a while there, it used to be that you were required, and it still is that you were required to have a bachelor's degree. But now to actually get into the National Weather Service itself, a master's degree has actually been preferred. And so for me, when I did my undergrad in meteorology at Ohio University, I was reluctant to stay at the same university and continue with a master's program because I was really involved in a lot of research there. So some of the research I did was involved with looking at like climate variability in Antarctica. So a really unique and fascinating continent. and something that not a lot of people get to look at and study. So fortunately for me, I was able to just kind of continue that research into a master's. And we do have a little bit of a small program in meteorology, but there's actually only 2 schools in Ohio that offer a degree in meteorology. And so that would be Ohio University and then Ohio State University. So your options are, a little bit more limited in that sense. But either way, I love the school. I was happy that they were able to keep me on. So I maintained, like I said, my education there and went on for a master's degree, but I did that in geography. So I kind of took what I had in meteorology and I wanted to expand upon it a little bit more and kind of dive into some of the other environmental sciences, some things like GIS and remote sensing and different things of that nature, where it's still, very applicable to sort of meteorology and atmospheric sciences. So as far as becoming a meteorologist, again, we always, tell students and other people that when they're kind of getting involved, early career stuff, extracurricular, so getting involved in organizations, meteorology chapters are prevalent at schools, even the American Meteorological Association, that society is someone where they meet like once a year and getting involved in that. And of course, experience. So the National Weather Service, they do offer sort of like an internship program or a volunteership where students can, come for a summer and work there several months and get trained, on all the stuff that we do in office. So that's always, critical, trying to get that previous experience. And then also leadership roles. So Brandon, who, was going to kind of be the speaker for you guys, he is sort of our warning coordination meteorologist, and he is one of kind of 3 primary managers that we have at our office. So he's sort of the overseer of a lot of communication with local partners, government agencies, both at the state and like federal level. So he does a lot of warning coordination with those people and kind of get, different things in place with that around the office. So leadership is obviously a critical role, especially if you want to move into sort of a manager's position. So from my journey, I really grew up, and I think two things you'll always hear from a lot of meteorologists when you hear about their, sort of interest in meteorology that they got. The first is that a lot of them will always tell you that they fell in love with meteorology at a young age. And the other thing is that usually there's some sort of life event that happened that has their draw towards meteorology, maybe more so than others. And so for me, it was very similar. My interest for meteorology was at a young age. I was the kid who, after a day of school, I'd come home and sometimes instead of watching cartoons, I'd turn on the Weather Channel. And I would just sit there for hours and watch cover, if they were doing live coverage on an event, maybe they were doing some of the storm stories, whatever it was, I was just always fascinated with the weather. And actually, when I was about 10 years old, we did have our local hometown. So I'm originally from Columbus area. So we had several tornadoes go through New Albany when I was about 10 years old. And I just kind of vividly remember that day, just taking shelter and what that felt like. We weren't impacted directly, but I mean, it was just a couple neighborhoods over. And we drove through, we saw some of the damage that it had done. I remember that our local church at the time sort of became a shelter for people. And just kind of going through that experience and remember what that was like, it just kind of, I guess, sort of touched me in a way that really drove my passion even further. So I wanted to kind of know and understand a little bit more about not just meteorology, but severe weather, tornadoes, that phenomena itself. It's such a phenomena of the unknown. And I think that's one of the things that draws me to meteorology a lot. Because one of the other fields that I was actually really interested and passionate about as a kid was astronomy. And so astronomy, I actually really looked into as well to maybe potentially go into a career path with that. But there was still always just a strong draw for me towards meteorology. And I think with the both of them, you're really looking at a field of sort of like the sciences of much of the unknown. With astronomy and weather, we can kind of explain a lot of it, but we can't we don't have a full understanding about certain phenomena. You know, we have a great idea of how tornadoes form and in the environments in which they're favored, but it's not an exact science. We're not, you know, there's always caveat situations to where, well, okay, I mean, we have a great forecast environment for a tornado to form, but that doesn't always mean it's going to form. And so there's always challenges that come with that. And it's a field where you can kind of always challenge yourself and continue learning. And so that's one of the things that I've always liked about it as well. But when I was at Ohio University, so like I said, I did get involved in some research. I was heavily involved in the meteorological organization there. Did several presentations for them and different things like that. And one of the really cool things that I got to do when I was a student there is we actually created this, it really is a storm chasing class. I think our professor called it it was like field operations and atmospheric sciences when she listed the course online, to not just quote verbatim storm chasing, but essentially that's what it is, storm chasing. So what we did is we blocked off a week. So it was 2 weeks in the month of May, and somewhere within that 2-week period, you would end up blocking off a full week. And that full week was essentially dedicated to rattling this kind of crappy dam. We drove out to the Central Plains and basically just storm chase for about 5 days in a row there. So pretty much one day to travel out. You chase for about 5 days, and then you drive back on that seventh day. And so I did that 2 different summers. And I tell you what, I mean, that was definitely one of the coolest experiences I think I've ever had. It was challenging in its own ways, because you're pretty much living off of like fast food. So by the end of the week, your body just absolutely hates you. You're eating fast food and you're kind of dehydrated because you're not drinking a lot of water, being that you're out chasing and stuff. But it was a really unique experience. We got to see, you know, just all the different storm structures where, you know, out there we, you know, might commonly see more of what's called supercells. And that's like the specific storm mode that's more conducive for producing tornadoes because the storm itself is actually rotating. And so just to be able to go out there and see all those different storm structures, we did see, so I did see a couple of tornadoes in person. They were very brief, but it was enough to catch, you know, a good glimpse of them. One of them got rain wrapped pretty quickly. And then the other one was just this like really thin kind of like rope tornado that was way out in a distance. The other funny thing about this whole trip was that I remember the first day that we went, so it was my first trip, and it was the first day that we were storm chasing. And I remember, you know, so before we go, our teacher sat us down and we went through some different training stuff, safety procedures, you know, the typical spiel that you'll get. And our professor went through a full list of different things. Like, here are the things that we will not be doing, you know, when we go out storm chasing. You know, one of them was we will not be chasing at night. Another one is that we won't be core punching, meaning that you won't drive through the section of the storm where the largest hail is being produced. You won't be driving through flooded roads. You won't be, gosh, I don't even remember all of them. But anyway, long story short, we basically broke every single rule on that first day. And all of our classmates, we kind of laughed about it because basically everything that our teacher said that we shouldn't be doing as far, you know, for safety concerns, we ended up doing that first day. And I think part of it was because it was such a good day to go out and chase. We kind of got caught in situations, but luckily nobody was hurt or harmed in that journey. But definitely a really unique experience and something pretty cool that the university does, you know, continue to offer for those that have an interest in putting themselves out in your tornadoes. So one of the other unique things that I did, and I don't want to spend too much time here, but is that I did some research. So a lot of my research was focused on studying climate. So I did a lot of stuff with statistics and really looking at Antarctica. So we had 2 faculty members at Ohio University that were in meteorology. One of them was really big into severe weather, which is the professor I went to on the storm chasing trip with. And then the other one was really into like polar climatology. And so he used to do a lot of his research studying Antarctica, climate change there, and just the behavior of the ice sheets and pressure levels and teleconnections with, you know, other phenomena in the Southern Hemisphere. And so I did a lot of work with him and actually got to travel to the NCAR Mesa lab in Boulder, Colorado, and spent a summer there doing research for a group there. So that was a really cool experience. So that's a little bit about me and my history, how I got involved in weather. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about, of course, the Weather Service. I'm sure you guys have some familiarity with what we are and what we do. We are a government entity. So that's one thing about the Weather Service. So we are a branch of the Department of Commerce. And so within the Department of Commerce is where you'd find NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And so within NOAA, you'll find the Weather Service, or the National Weather Service. And the National Weather Service isn't just like our local weather forecast offices, like where I'm from, but that also includes other agencies as well. So the Storm Prediction Center would be one, the National Hurricane Center, the Weather Prediction Center. So those are all actually agencies of the National Weather Service. We are specifically one branch of the one of 122 weather forecast offices across the country there. And of course, our mission statement is to provide weather, hydrologic, and climate forecasts and warnings for the protection of life and property and the enhancement of the national economy. And so here's a photo of our building. So this is the Weather Forecast Office in Wilmington, Ohio. So this is a picture of the front of it and the side. And so you can see on the side here, we've got a photo on the left-hand side here is our radar. So our radar is located on site there. And so we are staffed by about 24 full-time employees. And then the other thing about our office is that we are always fully staffed. So one thing about this job is that, of course, weather never sleeps, so neither do we. So the office is always going to have at least 2 people on staff, but staffing levels can always vary depending on the weather situation. I think right now we actually have probably about 3 or 4 people currently in the building dealing with some of the after effects of the weather that we just had, some ongoing flooding that's still occurring in some county levels, and then also through various rivers throughout our county warning area. But we can have as many as maybe about 8 to 10 meteorologists on site if you were to have a pretty significant severe weather event, which, like we did yesterday, we actually had right around 8 people that were on staff in the building there and all were playing different roles. So I'll talk about some of those different roles that we do. But here I just wanted to show a picture of, so this is a map of the United States. It might look a little bit different than what you're accustomed to seeing, but this is basically just breaking down the map if you were to look at all of the different weather forecast offices across the country here. So here we are in Wilmington, Ohio, and again, we are one of 122 different weather forecast offices. So we are responsible for a total of 52 counties. So we have 8 total in Indiana, 12 in Kentucky, and then 32 in Ohio. So the bulk of our counties are located within Ohio, but we do have a couple of counties there that we cover, like I said, in portions of eastern Indiana and northern Kentucky. So a total of 52 total counties. And so, like I said, our office is going to always be staffed by at least 2 meteorologists. So on Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, Christmas, New Year's, midnights, we always have at least 2 people that are in the office there. And each sort of forecaster or person in the office is going to have different roles. So we have different duties as a part of the National Weather Service job. And some of those are routine as to what you might be more familiar with, just kind of issuing those those basic forecasts, and issuing different things such as warnings, watches, advisories. But we do a little bit more than that too. So we actually have a desk that's sort of dedicated to aviation. So we make forecasts for 6 different terminals across the state of Ohio there. And so we provide more detailed forecasts for those pilots to help them as far as understanding what conditions are like for flying in and out of those various terminals. So severe weather and hydrologic watch. So right now we would have somebody on that desk at the office. So that's basically like our radar desk. So we have somebody sitting there monitoring radar and then other trends as well. So monitoring, of course, just recently with this event we just had moving through, monitoring trends in rainfall amounts and trends in the different river forecasts. So we actually are co-located with the Ohio River Forecast Center. And so that helps us a little bit out with being able to help, create and quality control some of the different river data that we're getting here. But we always have somebody that's sitting there monitoring, making sure those observations are coming in. And then we have our typical long-term, short-term forecaster. Short-term forecaster basically focused on the next 48 hours. And then the long-term basically takes day 2 through day 7 and focuses on those. And then a public service desk. So somebody there to basically answer the phone calls and take those, monitor social media, might help with putting out products on no weather radios and different things of that nature. Sort of like the jack of all trades guy that we have at the office. So public forecast, something you're probably familiar with. These are, issued every 3 hours, maybe more so if we have rapidly changing weather. So yeah, we have a short-term and long-term forecaster. And then, so there's a list of all the different parameters or variables that we might put out, things you might be familiar with: wind speed and direction, cloud cover, temperature, different things of that nature. Now for advisories, watches, and warnings, this is also something that we at the Weather Service are responsible for issuing. So when you see that tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning alert come across your NOAA weather radio or your phones, that would be basically the radar guy, pushing those out. Now, some advisories, watches, and warnings are a little bit more long fused, meaning that, like for example, we had that almost for every single county in our county warning area. We had a flood watch that we had to issue a couple days ago for the recent weather event. Now, for something like that, obviously there's a lot of coordination that goes on. In our office, we're looking at different weather models, ensembles of those models, and just looking at all these different tools that we have in our toolbox to basically try to put together the best forecast that we can. And depending upon that, we have certain thresholds that we often talk with the River Forecast Center with. And so we'll look at one county and we might know that, flash flood, basically flood guidance for, we'll pick Montgomery County, is maybe about 1.5 inches of rainfall within a 6-hour period. And so we'll take the forecast and look at it and say that, oh, well, it looks like there's a pretty good shot that Montgomery County is going to be getting 1.5 inches of rain in that period. And so because of that, it might be enough to warrant, issuing a flood watch. And so we'll talk with each other. We'll talk with even surrounding offices as well. So when I showed you that map of all the different weather forecast offices, you probably noticed that we are surrounded by a handful of other offices. So North Webster, Indianapolis, Louisville, Jackson, Charleston, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. So all these different National Weather Service offices around us. If we are issuing a product for a county that goes up against one of these other weather forecast offices, we are always responsible for reaching out to them and saying, hey, we're seeing this signal in models, and just based on trends, we're leaning towards putting out a flood watch for Delaware County up against you, Cleveland. What are your guys' thoughts? And so we'll chat there with those surrounding offices, because we all have different backgrounds and comfort levels with these different things. And so I think help kind of putting your heads together, not just between the people in our office, but the people in surrounding offices, to basically try and create the most accurate forecast and put out the best products that we can. And so that's ultimately what we try to do there when we're issuing those headlines, different advisories, watches, and warnings. The ones that are a little bit more unique are severe thunderstorm watches and tornado watches. So these two products are actually, those are issued by the Storm Prediction Center first. And what Storm Prediction Center will do is they'll say, hey, National Weather Service in Wilmington, we have a really good signal today. Looks like you guys are in an elevated risk, for tornadoes. So for example, the recent weather event that we had, I don't think they didn't end up doing it, but if they said that, there's an increasing signal that, we're going to be expecting tornadoes in some of your southern counties and northern Kentucky up through Cincinnati, we'd like to put out a tornado watch for your area. And so we'll meet with them and, we might say, we like what you have, but maybe we can add another tier of counties just north of that, just to sort of cover what we think might be the biggest threat. And so we do a lot of coordination with them as well for those situations where we're trying to, draw up the county warning or the county level watch. But then when we get into actual real-time issuance for a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning, there's short fuse forecasts where it's like, hey, warning means that there's a severe thunderstorm that is radar indicated, and it is almost imminent that it's moving into your area. And those are going to be issued by people at our office based on monitoring radar and different things of that nature. So all of those coordination challenges can add a lot of extra work and different things like that for the people that are in the office, coordinating between local offices around us, the Storm Prediction Center, and things like that. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about this most recent winter storm. Obviously we did get some kind of crazy weather over the last couple of days. I think it turned out, into a lot more heavy rainfall and flooding issues than really like severe weather and even winter weather. Although I do know that a couple of our counties in I think West Central Ohio, they're up in like Greenville, Salina, probably got about 1/10 of an inch of ice accumulation from some of the freezing rain and sleet last night, and then maybe a little bit of snow on top of that too. So it's kind of some crazy weather. But this winter storm that occurred from February 2nd through 4th, I'm sure a lot of you still remember it. That was a really, really interesting event. Just a really like a long fused, multi-day event, multi-hazard. We did have some isolated flooding issues with it. But basically our entire county warning area, all of those counties that we cover, we're in a winter storm warning at one point there, and an eventual upgrade to an ice storm warning actually for our southeastern counties, where there was an increasing signal for a longer freezing rain accumulation event. But really what became so challenging with this event is, again, because something like this is so rare, where you have such a long fused mixed precipitation event where you can get an area lined up to have sleet or freezing rain for 6, 8, 12 hours at a time. And that's exactly what we saw with this event. So obviously the forecast is one of the things that we pride ourselves in. We try to do our best to creating this forecast, but coordination and communication become just as important as putting together a good forecast, because it doesn't matter if your numbers are lining up really good. If this stuff isn't communicated well with the public or with our partners, then we as our meteorologists aren't doing our job to provide that extra communication to everybody. So just kind of what it's like a day in the life of working this winter weather event. So we would have basically daily emails and conference calls that we would set up. So whenever we meet certain criteria, a winter storm warning for any of our counties are one criteria, we would have to issue basically these daily emails to all of our partners. So this is sent to like the state EMA. This is sent to like local media and other partners at the state and local level as well, where we're sending them our online web briefing. So we create this web briefing online, and we're basically highlighting all of the different hazards that we're expecting for the day. So everything from like snow accumulations to sleet accumulations, refreeze, and different things of that nature. Maybe even winds. Winds could always be a part of it, because we were worried about this event afterwards with some blowing and drifting snow occurring, especially in West Central Ohio. So as we were getting those heavy snowfall rates, the other concern is that you would have maybe blizzard-like conditions where that blowing snow could reduce visibilities easily below a mile, but maybe even down to a quarter mile or less, where you basically have like no visibility at all driving on the roads. So we have these daily emails sent out, conference calls. So we have these conference calls again with our local partners. We have it set up so, you know, a lot of different people can chime in. Like I said, anything from ham radio operators to media, state EMA, Ohio EMA, and different things, different people and different entities there. And so we basically walk through them. You know, we give them the briefing. We tell them, you know, what the hazards are for the day. We open it up to questions so that, you know, they can ask a little bit more. And we basically try to hit on, you know, what are the main hazards? When is the timing of these hazards? When are we, you know, expected to see the worst of it? The white in its eyes, and then, you know, highlight other things as well, other factors, like I said, that may not be as readily apparent in the forecast, but things like blowing and drifting snow that could, you know, cause extra reduced visibilities. Another thing that we had ongoing with this event is basically a live video chat room with the Ohio EMA for support. So they were kind of just sitting there and we were on standby. So if the Ohio EMA director or, you know, somebody from the state EOC like just hopped in and said that, hey, we're looking for, you know, weather update. What do you guys got for us? So we always kind of had somebody on standby on video chat to basically brief them whenever they needed it. Because that's the thing about winter weather is that you're always, you know, a lot of it is kind of rapidly changing and evolving. So it's always good to have constant communication, open lines of communication with everybody, especially all of our local partners. Obviously, are using social media. That's, you know, something that's became more widely used in the last 5 to 10 years. So being able to do that, push out products that way, and communicate not only with our partners, but really with the public. And then using different things as well, NWS chat. So we have internal chat rooms with state and local partners, and then NWS collaboration between other weather forecast offices as well. So really a lot that went on in this event. You know, people even like me working long 12-hour days. You know, obviously, like, you know, kudos out to ODOT and different other, you know, state agencies and partners that, you know, probably worked just as long, if not longer than we did out there cleaning up the roads and things like that. But it just really goes to show that, you know, there's a lot that really goes on into our agency and what we do at the office, more so than just the normal forecast. So that's one thing that we really are striving to do and improve upon, is really just have more open lines of communication, create more outreach opportunities for the public, for people to get involved in and educate them, not only just before, but like even during some of these big winter storms. So I'll just kind of end on this slide here because I wanted to leave a couple of minutes there for questions. But just a plug that Brandon was interested in me throwing in there. So we at Wilmington, we do every spring, we will have these virtual Skywarn spotter trainings. And so basically these training seminars, you can attend them online. They're intended for people that have an interest in severe weather, but then also becoming what's called a storm spotter. And so we basically are educating them on different ways of identifying different storm structures, and then how to send reports into the National Weather Service. So some of the things that we look for and being able to identify and report things to us are going to help us out a lot, because really what you're doing is providing ground truth. And so if anything like this interests you guys, there's some information there that I'll leave up. But yeah, one thing that we're always trying to do is provide more outreach. Like I said, really trying to educate the public and provide more knowledge. Winter weather, or not winter weather, but severe weather and flooding awareness as well, because we're going to start to see a shift from more winter weather stuff to flooding and severe weather, which we kind of already started to get a taste of that with some of the weather we experienced over the last day or so. So with that, I'll just kind of end it. Make sure that when we do get, we kind of are getting into severe weather season here coming up, but really trying to make sure that you and the people you know and care about have a severe weather and flooding plan, and then of course always have multiple ways to receive alerts, There's multiple ways to receive alerts now through NOAA radio, your phone. Again, those outdoor sirens are great, but they're really only meant to be for people that are outdoors when those tornado sirens are issued. So just wanted to throw in that kind of friendly reminder there. But yeah, so thanks guys for letting me chat today. I'm sorry if this was maybe a little bit more educational or whatever that you were looking for, but I've got some extra time here, so I'm happy to answer questions, whether it's about my life story, things we do at the office, or anything like that. So yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, perfect. You guys want to pop? Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to do this over Zoom. Does anyone have any questions? Brandon, our president-elect, has 100 questions over here.
Perfect.
Hey man, I am so thankful for your time. Like you, I grew up watching the Weather Channel. I was like obsessed with Jim Cantori.
Yes.
I like, if any of y'all have ever seen the commercial, it's like everybody out on the beach having a good time, and like Jim Cantori walks out onto the beach to have a good time, and everyone runs away and starts screaming. And so I grew up watching like 7 on the 7s and like the tropical update, I think on the 50th minute of the hour, because I lived in the Gulf Coast, so hurricanes are a big thing. And I wanted to get into meteorology, and I ultimately chose the other career field where you can always be wrong and get paid, and that's economics. And so it worked out really well. But my 2 questions is, one, why do we have a facility in Wilmington? It always just kind of feels like, why Wilmington? It's kind of out there, not near like Columbus or Dayton or Cincinnati. So if you had any insight on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do always laugh about the people that talk about, the job where you can get, paid and still be wrong. And I always think about, what about all these sports analysts? Like, but yeah, where nobody picked the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl, and there they were. But yeah, no, that's a great question. Why Wilmington? I still kind of ask that myself. So just to give you a little bit of background, we actually, so before we were a weather forecast office, the Weather Service, so they had this restructuring that occurred in about, I want to say it was about 1940 or 1994. So there used to be actually more offices in the state of Ohio that were called Weather Service offices, so WSO it's instead of WFO. And we actually had a Weather Service office in like sort of our 3 big metro areas, so Cincinnati, Dayton, and in Columbus. And then, so they did some restructuring, like I said, back in about 1994, and they consolidated all those offices and chose Wilmington. Now, I think I wasn't sort of like the person who went into, the whole reasoning for why they did that and everything. But I think, as far as I know, the main reasons why they did that is because if you look at a map, Wilmington, Ohio is actually a reasonably good central point between Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus. So it's not equidistant, but it's pretty close when you look at sort of like straight line distance between all of those. And so I think that's part of it. I think it's kind of having this sort of like centralized location. But really, I think that's tied into radar placement. Because I think when you put these weather forecast offices, wherever you're putting them, it's always taken into high consideration as far as the radar, because you don't want the radar to be positioned like you're really never going to see a weather forecast office like in the middle of downtown unless the radar is off site. Because if you think about what a radar is doing is it's scanning, it's sending out electromagnetic energy, and it's scanning any object that's in front of it. So buildings, like tall trees, any things like that, would obviously really, it would end up providing essentially erroneous data when you're looking at radar. And so they often try to put these, I think, weather forecast offices in maybe a little bit more remote or rural locations, so that radar has the ability, because the lowest scan that we're doing is just 0.1 degree elevation. So it really is looking almost horizontally as it's sitting up, and then it scans higher and higher. But I think that's a big consideration is the placement of radar. So I think that Wilmington just had provided a good location for that. And actually Wilmington used to be a little bit more of a bigger city. I think back in the 70s and 80s, So I think in the 90s it started to, there were just bigger businesses there, maybe like a steel industry and different things like that. So it's maybe a little bit more of like a booming city, but it's really it's decreased as far as like revenue and people and things like that over the last several years. But yeah, it's a really good question.
Can I ask one really fast one?
Yes.
What do you want to do when you grow up with this? Like, if you could do any dream job within the weather world, meteorology world, what would you do?
Boy, that is a really good question. I always thought I had liked stuff with the Climate Prediction Center. I always kind of had a draw there, and I think that part of that's because of the research that I've done as an undergrad and graduate student there at Ohio University. But honestly, I as I get more and more involved in it, actually doing what Brandon does, our WCM, sort of that manager position. I love doing the weather. I love forecasting, but it's a lot of shift work. So I think at some point it might be good to kind of get in a little bit more routine schedule. But I think I like the draw towards the warning coordination meteorologist because it's a position where you're able to still have that strong connection to weather and do storm surveys and connect with local partners. But you're a little bit more on the outside looking in. You're not always sitting there in operations doing that kind of work. But I think it just opens the door for a little bit more variety of things. And then, obviously gives you opportunities outside of, just sitting in the office to go out and, provide things like this, a talk to you guys, or just get out of the office and work with local partners. I always enjoy working and meeting new people. So I think that's something that is a draw towards me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, thank you again. So Rotary's big about literacy. So per our tradition, we always donate a book with the speaker's name to the Greene County Library. It's called When You Trap a Tiger. Also Super Bowl 56 right there. But we'll have someone sign your name for you. And then, like I said, I'll be at the Greene County Library, which is convenient because last week's meeting was supposed to be about identity theft. So anything else for the good of the club? All right, let's stand for the pledge. Brandon Huff, would you like to lead us?
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good.
Thanks again, Logan.
Thanks, guys, for having me.